Hello.
Guys, sorry about
there we go.
that.
Fucking works this time, and the audio's there.
Like you're watching a stoner show because like nothing works.
Mate, it wasn't my fault. We fucking tested all this shit moments before we went live. You fucking tabs of the fucking thingamajig
Sure.
after the camera was on. The meters are rolling. Everything's there, and then it all goes
Super
black,
cute.
and you can't fucking figure out what the fuck's going on. So you gotta restart everything. This is my bad.
Welcome back, everybody, and yeah, we've been on a bit of a hiatus. Jake was away in the land of the Vikings in Denmark.
I did meet a few Vikings.
Yeah, the first thing
At
you
least.
said to me when you came back was that Viking physiognomy is real.
Definitely.
What did you mean by that?
Like the archetypes you see in like your favorite Viking shows exist to this day in like both the physicality and like the personality type of many Scandinavians that I met.
And like what types of archetypes did you see while you
Like
were
the kind of like Floki kind of like guy from Vikings, if you've seen that show, where he's kind of like a bit
trickster.
Yeah, he's a bit scrawny, but he's fucking crazy as fuck, and he's got like mad ideas and like he's like a really
That's, like,
creative
type
guy.
of guy out there.
100%.
It's like a woe.
And then also like the fucking just the absolute like proper Viking like archetype,
like big.
huge arms like fucking tree trunks.
Is that
You're just
real?
like, okay, how are we both considered men? Like me as a hobbit and you as a fucking Viking, literally looking up at you like you're a foot taller than me. Like how are we both considered the same kind of thing as a human being? It's crazy.
What else? Was there like the jolly like?
They all love a fucking fresh sandwich, and I'm a man that can appreciate that, like a good sandwich culture. So that won me over pretty fucking quickly. And then, they also have very nice ciders and all sorts of nice alcoholic things that I drank there as well.
Was there like the Odin old man kind of vibe?
I
Did you
did.
see a lot of wizards
I did.
out there?
I did see some wizards. I met this one guy who was in a band called High Lung, I think is how you pronounce it, or how it's pronounced, or like how it was spelled anyway to me. But he's basically in like a Viking folk band that does like Bronze Age Viking war chants and stuff like this, with a full like 30-person choir, and like they have shields and spears and fucking like smashing shit and fucking like not smashing shit, but like stomping on the floor with it.
Did you get to see them perform?
No, but he just like came to the studio for this meeting I had there, and was like, "Oh, this sounds very interesting." And he was just like, "Oh, mate, please, if you do, like, this will be like the demo track I use for everything. Now will be like your band." It's like, yeah, doing fucking epic Viking
What did
chants.
he look like?
Like a Viking. he looked like an elder Viking, like a fucking big fucking long old fucking beard that came like gave me fucking everyone gives me beard envy over there, bro. This is what I'm saying. This is nothing.
You had beard envy?
You think that I've got a long beard and this is long.
You're the fluffiest guy I've ever met. in
No,
my
dude,
life.
this is nothing. This is look at this. This is short
And
time
I've
shit.
been begging you to get it trimmed for
No,
ages, and you
it's got to be
refuse.
like all the way down here. That's what you realize when you get there. You're like, I'm not a fucking Viking until you've got like your fucking beard all the way down there. Until you can plait it like comfortably with three big fucking like plaits. That then you're like you're okay.
You're a real man then.
Yeah.
You have enough testosterone. in your
Basically,
system.
it's proven that you've survived many battles that your beard is that long.
You said that you get why they conquered England.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like 100 of the guys that I saw that are mostly like insecurity and stuff like that, versus 1,000 of me's, like I'm putting my money on the fucking huge dudes.
That's a pretty dope army to have, like an army full of like big dench guys, and then also like crazy, unpredictable, Loki-esque
Exactly.
trickster dudes.
And you're just
that
like,
can
oh,
do
I
anything.
completely get it now. This was like a no-brainer. I'm surprised you guys aren't still running shit. Like, it's a pretty perfect combo. But also, it's just like, yeah, you're sort of realizing how conditioned you are to like unnatural conditions living in London. being in such like a densely like what I don't know. I've not been to Shanghai or Hong Kong, which I think would be some of the only places that could beat London. But even San Francisco, it's not dense where you're like, oh my god, I'm fucking packed in. Like it's like it's disgusting and this like it's terrible everywhere you look. But you're not like, oh my god, I can't breathe because there's just so many fucking people. Like in London, wherever you fucking go, whatever you fucking do, getting a fucking pint, do whatever the fucking casual thing you're doing, you're so squeezed in with so many fucking people that like I just forgot what open space really kind of feels like. And then you get somewhere like fucking Denmark or Sweden, you're just like, oh my god, this is like what it's supposed to feel like. Like this is like a nice built up kind of small, well it's not small, like I was in Copenhagen for 1 week. That was like not small, that's like massive. It's got a theme park in the middle of it. It's fucking awesome, but it's also like doesn't feel like
everything's claustrophobic.
Yeah, and there's like not so many people there that you're just like fucking clambering for space and shit. Everyone's just chilling as fuck.
Yeah,
it's great. The like Scandinavian springtime is an absolute peach of a fucking time to go to any of those places. If you're ever planning to travel there, I mean,
Did you eat anything good?
I had the most insane Swedish meatballs I've ever had in my fucking life. And like I can't believe that IKEA. Yeah, but no, that is like
and getting sick several times from eating IKEA meatballs.
That's like a crying shame because like actually having really properly nicely made like chef cooked fucking Swedish meatballs with the fresh lingonberries and fucking mashed potatoes and the gravy and everything. It's just like, dude, it is absolutely a magical fucking meal. It's incredible, but IKEA completely fucked it.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair. But then, also, what other nice things did I have? Like, I obviously tried to eat as much like native-y stuff as possible when I'm in places, but they were just so keen on fucking like sandwiches and all sorts of other sort of normal things. You're like, I'm not gonna have that for dinner. I'm gonna have the pizza, or like, I did have a fucking huge steak that I shared with a colleague out there. It was crazy. That was the biggest.
Me a picture of that. It was like as big as my head.
Yeah, bigger. It was like stupid. It was definitely obviously for 2 people or more. But like me and my buddy finished it off. Mostly like he helped a lot. I couldn't finish that whole thing, especially like
No, I guess because you kind of started romanticizing it while you were out there, like, babe, we should move.
It's fucking amazing, not gonna lie.
I know I have a love-hate relationship with London in the sense that I get that it's claustrophobic and expensive and shit. But then, like, while you were gone this week, I was, like, retracing the steps of William Blake.
Cute.
And you can't do shit like that anywhere else, you know? And there's such a rich history here, and especially if you're like
can retrace the fucking steps of Ivar the Boneless and like all these other fucking epic Viking warriors and shit, dude. What are you talking about?
But I don't know, because this was like an empire. So many different people crossed through here. Like I was talking to this guy at work the other day, and he was talking to me about how his girlfriend is like half Turkish, half Nigerian, which is the most like South London mix ever. Like, you couldn't meet someone who's that mixed anywhere else.
That's true.
And it's
or maybe New York,
like,
but yeah.
Because it was like maybe New York, sure, but like in just like the unique pattern of this city being the center of empire and commerce at one point, and the types of people that have come through here, and just England in general. Like this place is pretty ran through. Like
Don't describe it as ran through.
It's pretty ran through.
I mean, it is ran through, and that's definitely
England. Especially London. This city is ran through.
It's definitely like
every single part of the world is like represented here in some form or fashion, which I think is pretty special.
That's true, but I feel like just in its appearance and in its
and if you're a mystic as well,
in its energy, it's also ran through. Like it's just like, oh, I like you've abused me so much. I'm like, I can't cope anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like utterly ridiculous.
I don't know. I've got mixed feelings because like I don't know. This is where I was born. Number one, it's the place where I formed most of my memories, and also like I feel pretty connected to the history of it, and I feel like randomly moving to Denmark would be weird and like
Well,
random.
You have to speak fucking Danish.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the starting point, and that's kind of what I'm realizing, I guess, a lot with like trying to escape like the UK, was that like I should have had the balls to do it when I was younger, like when Brexit was happening. Should have just been like, babe,
Fuck
that's
it.
it. Come with me. We're going to
Come on.
fucking Berlin. Like, we're doing it.
Take the backpack.
Let's get the fuck out of here. But I was like, you know what? No, I got faith. I got faith that we're gonna fucking stick it through, and then we're gonna figure something out here.
Very weird, depressing, and economically precarious time to be in London. It's still a really pivotal and interesting point in its history. So I'm kind of glad to be here. And as I was tracing the steps of William Blake this week, and I went up to Primrose Hill and stuff, like, I realized he was also alive during a similar time, where there was like this, it was like a weird transitional kind of...
What years was William Blake around in London again?
Hang on, I need to look it up in order to not...
Oh, I thought you were...
be a total idiot.
I thought you were a fresh scholar.
Hang on.
Do it on your phone. So I don't want to ruin the OBS again and make everything fucking die.
Everything die. Okay, well, anyway, we'll get it. We don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, I think that it's like a magical city.
Is it like industrial? It's not Industrial Revolution. He's older than that.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Or is it like the start of the Industrial Revolution when they're making factories and things like that?
I have to look up properly again to see when he was, but yeah, like, it's still like a really magical city in its own way.
It's a magical city, but I'm also sort of like, I also just like, I could do with like going somewhere else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like having a different pace of life.
Yeah.
Like different, and just seeing like, I don't know, like I used to travel quite a bit for my job. So it sort of like felt like, oh, I could see different bits of life and still be like, oh, you know what? I still really enjoy where I am. Like, it's fine. I've sort of like a prospect for the city is like not that bad. It could like get better. There are these options, etc., etc. And that was just gotten to the point where you're like, bruh. Well, that was some Guy Fawkesian level, like revolution. I really can't see like how anything's gonna get like markedly better, like in living in London. So like,
I feel like
what are the options? And like, how do we do that?
I feel like most people who live in major cities feel the same way, and I feel like
it's particularly acute in the UK with like the fucking, because if you look on the like G7 or whatever and all this stuff, like pre and post COVID, we've like not done well. We've like not been doing well for like a long time now, and it's kind of all like coming up
it's
to like a point.
Vibe again.
And it's just like, yeah, when's the IMF going to step in? Like, this is getting all a little bit silly, isn't it? So,
but even then, it's the same in like most parts of the developed world. Post-COVID, there's been like a massive economic slump, and obviously this is causing a lot of people to like romanticize other parts of the world, and it's already happening. That there's been a massive like culture of like digital nomads moving to cheaper parts of Europe or to parts of South America or even Asia, where the cost of living is a lot lower and their money stretches like a lot further. But that
I would do Japan, but like we
Japan's
would
definitely not on the list of countries where your money would stretch.
No, we would have to basically be like pretty poor for like a few years until my language skills and your language skills got to be like fluent Japanese, and then you could actually apply for jobs that you would be qualified for in Japan. But until you have like fluent Japanese, it's a complete non-starter, and it's basically the same any non-English speaking country is its dominant language. So like if you don't speak like fluent kind of like another language, your chances of kind of like getting something there is pretty slow. I don't know, I'm thinking about this as like a non-EU citizen now. For EU citizens, they can still flit around Europe quite easily and just get a job wherever, which is kind of like,
but even then for other parts of the world during this whole situation, they're seeing as a way of being able to kind of siphon off elements of the sort of labor market of the West. Like every time I'm scrolling through social media now, I'm seeing all these like weird ads like move to Australia, move to New Zealand if you have skills in this, if you have a degree in this, blah blah blah, and they're specifically targeting people in the UK and the US,
like farmers and nurses and like
not just that,
engineers of like but proper engineers, not audio engineers, not like the meme. It's like all the businessmen like putting the like civil engineer, like astrophysics engineer. The fucking Teletubby hand comes in, audio engineer. Like not like me, but like proper engineers.
I just realized how bizarre trying to explain a meme is. Like
it is. The
like
visual medium is so easily powerful to tell stories, isn't it?
It's the weirdest thing, but yeah, the whole digital nomad thing is becoming a traction now. But I don't know. I think it's kind of another.
Is that it? Delusion. Maybe I should just like get myself like a fucking what's it page on some shitty fucking service and be like, oh look, I've got all these skills and I'll do it for fucking nothing. Like give me 5-star rating and I'll fucking give you a rim job and then
I'll give you a rim job.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I get more jobs, and then I can just like go and live in Bali and fucking like dick around on my laptop for half an hour a day.
Like White Lotus every day. It would just be
that would be kind of cool though.
No, it would like mentally ill, like failed Americans and British people who are like trying to run away from their problems.
I'd do it for a year.
I wouldn't. I would do it for a year fun, but I wouldn't make it my lifestyle because I do. Mate, I don't know. I feel like I have a special purpose in this city.
Think of the character inspiration you're going to get from living in somewhere like that.
Yeah, of course.
For your writing and all of that. Like, it's going to be... It's just... You're not even going to need to do anything. You're just going to need to, like, look around and be like, fucking brilliant. Here we go. I was stuck yesterday. This is brilliant. I needed to hear the end of how this fucking woman's divorce went.
Jake's just there collecting the tea, showing off his Gemini moon. He lives for the drama. Well, yeah, let's move into our actual meat topic of the episode, which is like the growing hostility between men and women.
Are we not going to nerd out about the tech news first?
We got to do tech news first.
It is Mystic and the Machine.
We do have to do tech news
I mean,
first.
what we talk about is definitely going to... It's all spurred by the internet, I guess, which is like a roundabout way of like tying it all together. You know,
come full circle on this podcast.
Everything's fucking tied to the internet, isn't it? So it's a bit of a cop out, but still, it's you know, give us a fucking break.
So yeah, let's do tech news first. So first tech news is the Neuralink has now been FDA approved for human trials.
Yay, baby!
So it kind of moves out of the realm of speculation and now into the realm of like reality. Now that human trials are, like basically have been given the green light to be.
Yeah, but this doesn't mean that like you're gonna like get a Neuralink to access Twitter and stuff like that. Well, right now, do you know what I mean? It's all for medical use, isn't it? Which is why it's FDA approved, isn't it?
Right now, the trials they're doing are trying to help people with motor neuron disorders, all sorts of different things. And yeah, the technology has the potential to be a massive help for people with motor issues and all sorts of things. It could really change people's lives.
Yeah, it looks fucking nuts. It's
Elon Musk talk about it. He sort of talks about it in a way that he believes it's like going to save humanity because AI is going to get so smart and so advanced.
That's all marketing and hype, though, isn't it?
The only way that we can beat it is by merging with. That's his sell. And I'm not saying he's correct. I'm just saying that's how he's framing it. He's not necessarily framing it as like this ethical, humanitarian, medical breakthrough thing. In fact, there's not that much information about that. You actually have to really look if you want to learn about the medical implications of this. The sort of forward-facing message is this is like the new leap forward in human evolution. He's sort of making it ultra existential.
Well, I don't, you know, this is where it's interesting, where it kind of almost clashes with the other big bit of tech news, right? With the Apple Vision announcement with their big, you know, conference, whatever the fuck it is that they do with all the Apple stuff. Yeah. Announce all the new things coming. Whereas like really software focused to make everything feel more lifelike and real life and 3D. Like all of the software stuff was focused around that. At the same time, then there's like a dropping the bombshell that they're releasing this massive headset called Apple Vision that's going to set you back fucking $3,500.
Yep. Yeah.
which is
I'm
like
surprised. That's actually kind of cheap.
that's kind of the price of like a
Considering-
decently spec'd MacBook, I think.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
I wasn't expecting it to be MacBook price, because this thing basically promises to shift your paradigm and change your universe. We'll show you some of the advertising for it in a minute. And it's like the price of a high-spec MacBook. I was expecting it to be like $15,000 or something ridiculous.
But then this is the fucking voodoo that Apple have done on all of us, right? Because the most expensive, I think, like actual commercial released VR set before this.
Was the Oculus? Was it?
No, it was the Valve Index. So it was made by the company that does Steam.
Oh yeah.
Big fucking company, shitloads of money.
Yeah.
Fuckloads of resources went into it. It's one of the most impressive fucking VR headsets ever. I think you played a version before the Index.
Was it the one that you played with me?
So this was a generation before the Valve Index came out. So it's gotten even better from that, the Valve Index was. And that came in, I think, just around $1,000. All in. Controls, sensors, the whole shit. So Apple announces a VR headset that's 3.5 times the most expensive VR headset that's ever been released. And everyone's reaction is, oh, it's kind of the same price as a MacBook. It's not that bad. Like, that is how fucking screwed the fucking valuation of, or not valuation, it all gets very esoteric and philosophical when you start talking about the value of something, doesn't it? But it's sort of like the price that you would pay for Apple products and what you expect now is so vastly out of whack with everything else in every other fucking market, even ones that they're involved in. It's a big PR juju job that they did, that they've successfully done.
They're basically pitching it as like the next sort of interface.
It is. It's the beyond the phone.
Yeah.
To like be seamless with reality around you, so that it's like what do they call it? Augmented reality. So you can wear glasses that like have fucking scans of your face to project version of your eyes onto a screen in the front of the glasses, so that people look like you're seeing them.
Yeah.
Whilst you're inside these glasses, fucking having a wank or doing whatever else it is that you're doing.
Of course, people
Like,
are going to use this to jack off. It's the first thing that's going to happen when people get their hands on these, for sure.
And it is pretty nuts, I'm not going to lie. Like, it is, it is pretty nuts. And definitely due to the nature of my work and such, I'm definitely going to end up having to experience that and be like, what the fuck is this? This is nuts.
You're going to get fired for, like, being in your office with, like, your pants around your ankles.
It was a spooky ghost. Just pull a full Randy Marsh. Like, I don't know. Like, it's. I feel like that. So what cemented it was that we were going to show you this as well. Is the Disney announcement that goes along with it, and for me, like, that kind of really cements it as like, okay, a lot of really, really fucking big companies have put so fucking much money into this now. I don't think it's going anywhere.
No,
I think that, and especially once Apple have done something, that makes every motherfucker, like Samsung will try and do some shit.
Yeah.
Fucking, who fuck knows, like, comes next? Nvidia might try and do some fucking shit. Like, who the fuck knows?
That you think Apple might launch a social media platform of its own and then just be the Omni device.
Why
and
not?
Also the Omni platform.
I've already can see the prototype with that. With what they've done with some of the software. They've got this new poster thing, which is a picture of you with all of your contact information, with fucking other stuff. Fuck knows what like that could develop into, where it shows you like your latest thought or version of what a tweet would be, whatever they fucking rebrand that to.
That's like a journal.
Yeah.
And it like in the ad, it's like, tell us your innermost, and like, fucking, this is a space for you to
feel gratitude.
It's like really bizarre. And of course, like an invasion and intrusion into your like internal world. Yeah. Ever more than even the iPhone or like social media could have ever been. Like,
although there are some things. Oh, hang on.
Do you like his Akira shirt?
That makes me look fucking huge and fat as fuck because
it's because it's Asian. It's an
Asian large is like a fucking Western small. Just for anyone that's buying like t-shirts from cute Japanese shops that is definitely imported. Their sizes are all fucked up. Okay, I'm telling you for free now.
Oh my god.
But yeah, what was it? What was I saying?
We were talking about.
Yeah, that they're all in on this shit, and this isn't going away. Like, I thought in my usual kind of little misanthropic self, where like, I don't use the thumbprint on my phone.
Yeah.
I don't use the face recognition.
Diabolical.
I don't use the Siri. I don't do any of the kind of last 15-year kind of advancements in like interface with technology, because I find them incredibly alien and strange, and I love buttons and switches and dials and things that you can like tactilely touch. I really hate the fucking touchscreen model, and I got really like a little sense of joy the other day because there was a big like forum, a big media post, all these different companies talking about how they're ditching the touchscreens for cars. They're going back to buttons and stuff. I was like, hey, we're in with a chance, boys. Buttons are on the way back. But no.
I do like a good button.
Now it's all going to be like kind of semi-autistic hand gestures to fucking like navigate through your like camera censored fucking
Children of Men.
stuff.
Remember the guy's like severely autistic son?
Yeah.
Who's just like sitting there going like this.
Yeah, that's like...
He's like, Jimmy, take your pills. Take your pills, Jimmy. That's the fucking future, guys.
Yeah.
It's literally gonna be the future. And just, let's show the thing.
Sure,
we gotta move
sure.
to our topic before we run out of battery.
Okay.
Let's show the thing.
I mean, I could talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
But
we should do it next episode.
Let's go. Oh, and predictably, as is tradition,
the
fucking thing didn't work. There we go.
Fuck for that.
All right.
We're not that incompetent, even though we're stoners, we promise.
All right, look at this shit. This is like Disney's little chime in for the Apple
it's so
announcement.
And it's just in time for their 100th anniversary.
Yeah,
I can't believe Disney's turning 100.
It's a lot of big stuff all coinciding, mate. That's what I'm saying. It's like not.
I think it's all planned.
It's all coming around. It's all like coming here to stay, and it's coming pretty fast.
Yeah,
and you better get used to it. That's kind of what I'm getting realised too.
Pretty much. Go on.
What if all the things that we thought were impossible were suddenly possible?
Disney adults jizzing in their pants.
Experience your favorite stories.
I can have a pool party with Ariel.
Or in unbelievable places. You could do more than just watch sports.
You could watch. You watch 5 sports at the same time.
You watch 5 sports at once, and you have like all the advertising hit you at the same time. It's like, buy a big gulp, get your boner pills. It's like all hitting you at once.
Oh my god.
You'll be immersed in advertising.
Oh dear.
You could be at the game without leaving your home.
Imagine dads in the future.
You could live life without living life. Did you know that?
Literally, it's just so demonic.
Henry David Thoreau would be like crawling in his fucking grave watching this shit right now.
Fucking Ted Kaczynski would like fucking be crawling in his grave right now.
Modern Thoreau, yeah, like black-pilled Thoreau, yeah.
That's actually a good way of describing him, black-pilled Thoreau.
Let's go.
Be part of the action like never before. What if you could travel on a National Geographic adventure from your couch? Or if your imaginary friends...
Sinister Mickey, just like winking.
He hasn't got sinister yet, wait for it.
weren't quite so... imaginary.
Oh my god! He literally does make an evil face.
What if he like...
Why does he literally looks like he's gonna snatch up your fucking children.
Yeah,
like,
mate.
He's making molesty hands. That's so dumb. What the fuck is going on, dude? Like... That's crazy.
What if you could bring Disney World into your world? And what if you could become a superhero?
What?
And seek the answer to the ultimate question. What if?
Space. Time. Reality.
What? Wait, did it just get existential on us?
Yeah, from the space baby. The space baby's got to get all existential on you.
It's more than a linear path. It's a prison of endless possibilities.
Did he say it's a prison of endless possibilities?
I think he literally did, yeah.
Wait, rewind that back. Did he just say it's a prison or a prism?
It's a prison.
They did that shit on purpose. It's either I'm too
A
drunk.
prison of endless possibilities.
It's either I'm drunk or I'm too high or what the fuck.
Acceptable to most, but not to you.
I mean, that's pretty mask off Disney.
Proud to yet
Shut it, old
They're
white man.
professional.
Don't you know that your
White
time is
man.
over? Jesus. We've had enough out of you. Fuck off. But yeah, that was like the cherry on the top of their fucking Apple announcement was this big...
You said it's a prison for your consciousness.
I didn't catch that first time round. That was
like fucking doing child molester hands.
that was fully mask off Disney. I'm surprised.
That's the future, guys.
But this is the interesting thing. I was talking to this with my colleague when we were in Denmark, and was just like, and it was this very a seemingly middle class sentiment, right? Of like, oh, travel should be mandatory, like everybody should travel, kind of thing. And you're like, yeah, on the surface, I get the like, oh, everybody should travel. Yeah, I get that criticism, and it's like fucking valid as hell. But at the same time, the fucking like actual sentiment of it is not incorrect. Like, actually going out into the world and traveling and seeing other fucking cultures and doing all this stuff.
Important.
I do believe like
development
fucking
as a
like
person, yeah.
physically expands your brain. I feel like your head does get like
New connections and neurons form.
no, it gets physically bigger. Do you know what I mean? The more places you go, your
Well, I know
head
that's not
physically
actually true.
goes bigger. Like
if you've ever met like an American study abroad, no offense to our audience, if you've ever met an American study abroad, these are people who have like been everywhere, but their heads are still like pretty fucking empty.
yeah, but no. So, but my point is like living life, right? And I dropped Henry Thoreau. Been reading Walden, obviously, which is why I'm talking about this shit at the moment. But it's like living.
Discovered Walden. Now he's gonna get a cabin somewhere. He's gonna touch grass a little bit too hard, like Ted Kaczynski.
No, but the whole point of that shit is like living life. The experience of living life is far more than like studying it or observing it passively. And like all of the idea that like technology could like connect humans in ways that didn't before, like in ways that it did, like with airplanes and stuff and international travel and this kind of thing. Now, instead of like using technology to like make it eco-friendly to still possible to travel and do all of this stuff, it's like, no, have all of these experiences from your couch in Camden, because God knows you're too poor and too fucking like conscious of the fucking climate and all the damage you would possibly do if you left your fucking house. So like, do all of the living right from your very home, and it's just like I don't know about that.
It is
like
a prison for your consciousness. It's like a descent into a more degraded and like fragmented form of existence.
Like being able to zoom into like a fucking VR cinema that's showing like epic scale fucking IMAX shit in wherever you're sat down. Oh, sign me up, baby. I get that.
I'm not like a Luddite, despite the fact that I do believe that I am a proto Bene Gesserit in the days before the Butlerian Jihad. So yeah, I am a little bit of a Luddite, but not really. But at the same time, like if it was just like an experience, like you could go somewhere and like play games or do whatever with it. But you know that that's not what it's for. It's supposed to be the next interface.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's supposed to be the next kind of integration into reality.
That like we're all going to be walking around with these fucking things on our heads like all the time, and like getting all of this extra information from like all of the.
And it's just going to become more sleek and streamlined and less clunky as time goes on.
But
augmented reality, I think, is probably going to be the next kind of step.
And then what, that like then partners with your Neuralink if you've got one, and then you can like, instead of doing like autistic hand gestures in the air, you can like fucking swipe with just your mind, and you can just be like on Tinder whilst you're like on a date with a girl, and just be like swiping with your mind without having to do autistic hand gestures. Like they're gonna.
Speaking of which, let's get into our next topic. That's the perfect way to place.
There you go. There you go.
We're talking about how
I did that on
media
purpose.
and how social media has like impacted the relationship between men and women. And like this is a topic I've wanted to talk about on the show for a really long time, but just haven't had the opportunity or excuse. I think the last time we talked about it was with Kevin Samuels.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who don't remember him, he was sort of this viral dating.
I don't think we've ever talked about Kevin Samuels on this podcast.
No, not on this podcast. On our last podcast, we talked about Kevin Samuels, and like he was this like dating guru, viral guy who said a bunch of inflammatory things about women and got people riled up. He was,
He played the game well.
Yeah, he played the game of social media well. Went viral. Blah 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 blah. But this has been sort of a motif over the last couple of years of like viral machismo podcast dudes talking about women, and then women being resentful. But now the resentment of women has now reached the level that it's beginning to match those dudes, and a few viral female figures
have emerged.
One of which is the sprinkle lady. I don't know if any of you have seen this woman floating around the zeitgeist, but she's gone viral recently, and she's this sort of dating coach woman who teaches other women how to finesse men, and has this incredibly cold transactional view about dating, love, and relationships. But it seems to be resonating. And the thing about her is, even though people are sort of comparing her to Andrew Tate and saying that she's like a female Andrew Tate, I wouldn't say so, because she's not as thirsty for clout. She had actually been making videos for about 4 years prior to people clipping those videos and putting them on TikTok. And recently she's been going viral. But this meme hazard has been kind of gestating for an incredibly long time. And now it's finally sort of taken hold. And like, all I'm seeing is incredibly resentful dialogue coming from antisocial men and antisocial women online who are using it to elevate themselves in the attention economy. Yeah. But it's actually having an effect on like young people and how they're viewing relationships. Because
they take
love, sex, all of those things, money.
It's because they exist, like, I feel like
really vital aspects of existence.
Younger generations like exist more online than previous ones.
Be on their heads.
And like, so all of the information they kind of take probably, I don't know, maybe with context, either more or less with a grain of salt than previous generations. So like they would see figures like that and then kind of not actually have as much distance from the realm of the media and all of this other stuff to be like, oh, this person's kind of doing this for attention, and
but even then,
whatever else.
The reckoning is already happening. I was on Twitter today and I saw this girl, Shiwan Head. She was complaining that her mentally ill Zoomer fans are now blaming her for leading them down the alt-right pipeline. And I looked at the bottom of the tweet, and like bare of them were like, oh yeah, you did lead me. I did watch you when I was young, and like I do blame you for...
And now I'm a Nazi, and it's all your fault.
And it's like, these people are in a cult. They don't think for themselves. The parasocial dimensions of this are so fucking deep.
And what were her videos about?
Overridden their fucking
what are her videos?
I don't know. She talks. I don't know. She talks about stuff, and I think she's had like a pretty hodgepodge political journey. So I think she was like a rational skeptic at one point, and then she became a bit more right leaning, and then she became a leftist, and now she's like a kind of like.
The Rational Skeptic sounds like the name of the political party that Eric Weinstein would start.
Yeah, pretty much. She's been around for a long time and has done the rounds of the psyops, basically, of the different kind of like cults. And now it's not even with just her, a bunch of people, BreadTube, all of that stuff. Now their Zoomer fans have grown up to the point where they're you know, amygdala or whatever part of their brain is starting to develop, and they're starting to sort of question the like shit that they've been fed for the last. And I didn't realize how much of an effect it has on them.
Like, I don't know what happened. It was 2015 and I was watching Shoe on Head, and now I'm fighting Russia with the Azov Battalion.
It's really crazy.
It's like-
These people are really crazy. I literally can't believe what I see sometimes, and just the lack of self-esteem and self-regard that would enable someone to surrender their critical faculties to that level, to that dimension where they are so parasocially wrapped up in an identity or a community or like a thought leader that they completely surrender their critical faculties. But it happens, and it's happening now with grown women who are all so critical of Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels. Little did we know all along they wanted their own version. And now she has emerged, and her name is Sprinkle Sprinkle, or is that her catchphrase?
It's She-Ra something or other.
She-Ra something.
We'll get
yeah,
to...
Let's get a clip of Miss Sprinkle Sprinkle up so that you can see an example of the kind of resentful rhetoric that is normal now. And yeah, she's funny though. She's charismatic. And I think that that's part of the reason why she's gone viral, despite the fact that she didn't try to, which I kind of have a begrudging respect for. She just sort of did her thing for years, and then all of a sudden, you know, the zeitgeist kind of snapped onto her, and she is really funny and charismatic. She wears costumes. She has a sense of humor. But at the same time, the shit she's saying is like demonic.
It's really toxic, and like I don't know if it's like a bit or not. That's kind of where I am with this lady.
Probably a CIA op. Like, I think most of them are, because like it's so, there's like all these guys, they have podcast studios, and they're like complete nobodies that no one has ever heard of. Random dudes all seated in, and like OnlyFans chicks. I'm like, where does the money for the studios come from? Who are these people? Why are they saying all of this shit? And it's like, so it's everywhere now, like literally everywhere. Play the clip.
Number one tip on how to cut off emotion is to think of it like a business. Okay? If your love and your energy were money, who would be cheated? Who's paying more? Who's paying more, you or him? Think of emotions and energy like money. So if you're giving him more emotions, if you're putting more energy into him, if you're putting more effort into the relationship, if you are having more emotions and feelings toward a person than they are about you, you are getting cheated and robbed, basically. Okay? So that's one way to turn it off. If you were going to work and you weren't getting your paycheck, wouldn't you say something? Wouldn't you quit? Wouldn't you stop showing up? Yes, you would. So you have to think of this as business. That is the number one way to turn off your emotion. Okay? Because at work, you're not emotionally attached to that job. If it's paying, you're staying. If it ain't paying, you're leaving. Okay?
There are some people that watch this stuff all day long.
Yeah.
And you can, because for them, it's easy to produce. It's a fucking salient business model. It's not like me, like an idiot sitting there trying to write and produce a video essay and spending days and weeks and months writing shit. You could just sit in front of a camera and spout a bunch of resentful rhetoric constantly and, like, you know, prey on people's fears, traumas, insecurities. Like, it's just so demonic.
It's terrible, and like this person has never, I think, tried to do anything in their life, and has also been incredibly damaged by like other people that she's tried to be in a relationship with.
Yeah, I suspect she's
because
somebody who's been through some kind of trauma, because nobody becomes that callous.
Yeah, well,
to see relationships as purely transactional.
Also, like a job is a job is like something you'll do to get money, but that doesn't mean that, like, you know, like understanding like how human beings are, they'll always try to strive to something that they are like interested in or something, right? Like, so no, not always a job is just somewhere you're soullessly like clocking in somewhere to like get money. Like that is not the ideal of work as like a human being.
Yeah.
That's like a really shitty attitude and way to view work as a human
things are
being.
becoming progressively more and more soulless. Like even with the whole descent into VR fragmentation bullshit. The same thing with relationships, work, all these different domains of life that are supposed to provide meaning are now seen as pure units of like transaction and like pleasure, pain kind of distinction. And yeah, she's clearly somebody who's been hurt, in my opinion, and is now attempting to monetize her trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be the case with the women gurus. It's a lot of women who are attempting to monetize their trauma.
Well, she even says that in like I think the next clip. Yeah, I think she says it in this clip.
In this next clip.
Y'all need to stop leading with all this healing and trauma crap and go to like some feminine retreat in the woods and chant and scream and do all y'all gotta do and get it out of your system. You can focus on this bag and stop focusing on what happened, why you did this, all of this stuff. Okay, it needs to stay somewhere that is not in the public. Okay, leave it where it was, because every time you bring it up, all you're doing is rehashing it. So just leave it alone. You know, stop putting all your like therapy stuff out there. I did this because I had trauma. I did this because, I went to the bathroom because I had to pee. You think I'm going to write that everywhere? We don't need to live in the past. We need to live in the now and what we're doing. Everybody, I'm talking to everybody, not just a particular person, okay? Disconnect emotionally by focusing on the present and the future, okay? A temporary feeling does not last. It gets over with quickly. So instead of feeling emotional, think about how you can benefit from whatever is happening, okay? Think about how you get paid for whatever is happening to you if you are over emotional, okay? Say, how can I turn this into money?
Just monetize your trauma.
And
it's demonic. It really is demonic.
Not only that, but like the running theme in like the both of those clips is to turn off your emotions.
Yeah.
And to completely disconnect between like in that frame of mind, dude, like you could get approached by those fucking porta potty fucking Arab dudes and like just go for it because that's like absolutely fine.
That, like, invite chicks to Dubai to shit on them and pay them lots of money.
And it's like that. What kind of self-esteem issues is that going to reinforce if you follow through with actions as heinous as that, where you're like, oh, it's just like momentary feeling. So like I'm not going to worry about that, and even like thinking about it is just rehashing it. What's the point? I'm trying to live in the now, baby, and get that bag. You're like, I mean, this is like
that's kind of like a high risk, high reward lifestyle that like appeals to our generation. But
that's the thing. It's
the female version of crypto bro shit.
It's always within.
Basically, in my opinion, that high risk, high reward kind of fast lifestyle. It
is like the female crypto bro kind of thing.
It's like female uncut gems, if you get what I mean.
Definitely, but none of them have got a Julia Fox booty. That's like probably guaranteed.
She gives them delusional advice. Like there are lots of. She has like an army, a cult, and that's what a lot of these thought leaders end up developing, is a cult of sycophants and followers and people who source their identity from basically following the advice and viewing themselves as quote unquote high value based upon it. And she tells young women to do things like dress in a sort of classically fancy way and to go to the fanciest part of town and sit in bars and restaurants and wait to be approached by rich men.
Nice.
And there are lots of like testimonials that you see on TikTok of young women being like, oh, I sprinkled today, or like, the sprinkle logic has helped me get a rich husband, or whatever the fuck. Like she has like a literal army of loyal female, in the same way that Andrew Tate has a loyal following. And that's the thing about these women, is they screech so hard about Andrew Tate. They screech so fucking deeply about the antisocial male logic of figures like Andrew Tate or whatever. But then they didn't create anything better. They just created the same thing in the opposite direction, which shows that that's exactly what they wanted all along, was to just voice their resentments. they didn't want to heal the relationship between men and women. It doesn't seem as if anybody wants to.
They just want theirs.
Yeah.
Because there's no hope for any other kind of connection or meaning.
Yeah,
it's
and
all
these people
about
are just
like
dumping gasoline on the fucking fire. It's really fucking sad.
Most men are sociopaths, so it's not a bad thing. If you're going to be dealing with one, you might as well act like, something similar as far as how you think and how you play this game.
Damn, sis, who hurt you?
So like all men are sociopaths. So just enter like any kind of interaction you're going to have with someone that's like trying to make a connection with you as if they're a sociopath, and so that gives you permission
to act
to behave as a sociopath.
No, you always wanted to behave that way, and that mentality is just an excuse for you to unleash your evil shadow on the world. It's so disgusting and pathological. And that's the thing. People will be like, oh, Angie, why are you talking about this obscure sprinkle lady? No, this is viral. This is viral.
Yeah.
This is like normal, respectable looking women.
And the thing is like...
are like following this woman. And it's very rare as well, I noticed on the internet, for like the black spheres and the white spheres to kind of collide with each other. And she sort of started off in the black sphere, but there's even white sprinkle girls.
Of course.
So she's transcended the sort of black internet and has now become a mainstream figure.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if she did reach the level of popularity of Andrew Tate, because it shows that there's a large market for this kind of resentful female rhetoric. And I keep using the word resentment because that's exactly what's at the root of all of this shit.
Resentful sexed rhetoric, isn't it? Because it happens on both sides of, men and women.
Yeah.
But, the next clip we've got is this young lad who's been causing a ruckus in the UK.
Yeah, the reason we bring... So basically, for those of you who don't know who Mizzy is, he's this, like, kid who's in the UK. He's, like, 18. And he's been going viral on TikTok recently because he does, like, pranks, stupid antics where he, like, scares people or does... Like, I think he broke into someone's house as a joke. Like, things that are, like, antisocial and you probably shouldn't
and, like,
do.
definitely illegal and, like, not, worse than jackass because it's not really kind of just pulling the prank on himself. It is kind of innocent bystanders are kind of involved, so... But
even then, like, he's, like, just a kid looking for attention and looking to go viral. The incentive structure to behave that way already exists. Mm-hmm. And kids who are neglected or who want attention, who, feel like, they want to be famous, whatever the fuck, have this, like, tool now at their disposal to do whatever the fuck they want. But, like, lots of media recently have been inviting him on to, like, give him a telling off. Like, there was a viral clip of him on Piers Morgan. Mm-hmm. And Piers Morgan was, like, 5 minutes away from smacking this kid on the bum. Like, it was so pathetic. And, like, But here, Mizzy defends himself and actually gives a reason for why he's been doing what he's doing. And I think it ties into a lot of what we've been talking about. So, let's play the clip.
He's moody.
He's a bit moody.
Why are you upset?
Because I have a message.
What's
to
your
the whole
message?
world. So you see you guys right now, you're using a script in it. You're basically working a job at the end of the day. No script.
No, it's not a script.
No, it's script. Well,
I have a script here.
Oh,
yeah.
He does have a script.
I'm a man with a script. I'm an actor at the end of the day. I'm an actor with a script.
Okay.
And I have something I want to say.
Go for it.
This is a message to everyone. And to get where I am right now to spread this message, I needed to do things in a different way. In a way a lot of people wouldn't agree on. I have remorse, and I know when to take accountability for my actions in my personal life, when I'm Bakari, not when I'm showing you Mizzy on the internet. I don't condone what I do, nor do I tell anyone to repeat any of my actions. People need to understand and learn to detach social media from real life, as social media is just one big game. And Mizzy, this online persona I created, is literally social proof that society is weak and that the public is manipulated by media and swayed away from the truth so easily. Attention is seen as the purest form of generosity, and Mizzy is exactly what is wrong with this new online modern day society. You're all capitalizing on Mizzy right now. This interview literally has Mizzy on the headlines, bro, and you're making money over my appeal to the public, whether it's good or bad. Think about it. The only reason I've been making news and headlines for so long is because I'm young, black, and doing something different. And the mainstream media think they can use me as an example, put me on TV so I can make a fool out of myself and appeal to this stereotype. It's a simple distraction technique used by the mainstream media to divert attention from the real problems in this country. If I wasn't the TikTok terror or done what I needed to do, would I be on this show right now or even on Piers Morgan? It's all propaganda at the end of the day. All these online personalities have had their own fair share of controversies, worse than mine even, and still have a platform, and that's because we give it to them with any type of attention. I'm just a teen from these rough areas. As journalists, it's your job to be highlighting the misery of people in this country and figuring out what their causes are instead of bringing some TikToker that makes silly pranks onto your show for views and ratings. It's all about painting a picture in your mind. Mainstream media have been doing it for years, and they get their paycheck by writing numerous articles, posting controversial videos, and twisting stories to change the audience's narrative. The movement is real.
Good lad.
So I don't think that he had that kind of introspection before
No,
he
I
started
don't think
doing
so
all of
at
his
all
pranks and
either.
stuff at all.
No.
I think that once
I
he
still
got
think
the
he's funded
eye
it.
of Sauron focused on him
Yeah.
and was like, "You're doing what?"
Yeah.
He's like, I better think about this for a
Yeah.
fucking second and like come up with something."
Yeah.
And what he's come up with is actually very eloquent and like very good and very well put across.
But he's just a troll.
But
He's just a little
he
troll.
is just a little
and the
troll.
Thing is, he's incentivized. He's probably going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And he's made fame. He got exactly what he wanted by being a public nuisance and like by engaging in antisocial.
He could do like a
behavior.
grime album or
Society has
something
now rewarded
and
him.
sell like more
I'm
than
sure
like
he's got a
most
drill
people that have been
album
fucking
coming.
trying hard as fuck for years.
Yeah,
You know what I
dude.
mean? So like it's just kind
He's
of the
got
way
a
it
drill
goes.
album coming. Like he's gonna fucking be on Balls of Hot Sauce next week.
He's got his own chicken shop special coming. Like
literally.
I don't know, man. Like it's that's being very cynical about it, I guess. But at the same time,
that's
like
what it is. Antisocial behavior gets rewarded, and it's like the same thing that's fueling the gender bullshit that's going on right now. The most heinous antisocial men are highlighted as like the epitome of men,
Yeah.
and the most heinous antisocial women.
here's a good example of both of these types of people you'll come across in your everyday life. Not.
And also in dating, horror stories, people like think life is like a Reddit thread basically, and that like even things like people have become so cynical to the point where like girls on college campuses have quote unquote like red flag lists because obviously they're engaging in the same dating pool, so they start categorizing the guys in the university on like spreadsheets. If like Chad didn't text back fast enough, he's toxic or whatever the fuck.
Wow, women in their spreadsheets, mate.
It's literally like
That would terrify me if I ended up on some
pretty intense
group of ladies spreadsheet. The comments section, I'd be fucking terrified.
But it's like a way of they call it like unionizing dating, and they're using all of this like market workerist rhetoric around love and relationships. I don't know, maybe I'm dumb and goofy, but like I maybe I've been reckless even with my heart in the past, but I've never been that calculating about love.
But this is what I mean though. I
could never imagine being as calculated.
That's what I mean though. It's like we all know the healthy thing. We all know the healthy thing, but like market incentives and whatever new interface is not gonna like allow for the healthy thing.
Yeah.
It wants to simulate as much of a healthy thing as possible, whilst actually catering more to market demands and like increased growth and monetization.
And it's
like,
really affecting kids. Like the fucking now they're starting to grow up, and we can hear them. Like I think it was kind of, I understand why someone like Shuonhead would want to dismiss the mentally ill Zoomers that are blaming her for making them join the Azov battalion or whatever. But at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that these kids are being affected. And like, remember, we were out the other day, and we were like,
we were getting food at the market. We were getting food at the South Bank market.
Yeah, we were getting food at the South Bank market. And these two cheeky little boys couldn't have been more than 8 years old. We're talking about fucking Andrew Tate in front of everyone. And like the guys that were selling us the food like double taked. Everyone double taked and was like, whoa. How the fuck do you know who I double taked? Because I didn't even know it had gotten to that point.
It's funny because like all the adult, I say adults and I don't include us in that because like we were kind of stood to the side and they're all like people that clearly look like they should or were at the age where they definitely had kids kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like they all just turned around and was like, are these your kids? Like, no, I thought they were your kids. Like, no. And then everyone kind of disowned them and then they fucking ran off again. It was just literally. Like, what the fuck just happened? Is this just like scallywag behavior is now to kind of like look up to guys like Andrew Tate, or is that like more just kind of common playground lexicon is to be like, I've got a Bugatti. Like,
I think it's probably a mixture of both. I think that it's probably semi-ironic, but I think for some kids it really isn't, and that is their role model. And I think a lot of people, including adults, it doesn't even just affect kids. Adults are vulnerable to this. You have grown women who consider themselves sprinklers. Like, people now, because there's no community, family ties have eroded, people are now getting their morals and their worldview from fucking thought leaders. And if adults are vulnerable, psychologically vulnerable enough to get like mimetically butt fucked like that, of course kids are way more fucking vulnerable because they're so fucking impressionable.
It's like, I think for a long time I was kind of under this like really like stupid, like naive like mentality that like, oh, my generation grew up when like, you know, we had dial-up when I was a kid and stuff, so like, you know, there wasn't fucking internet security. You'd have to work in IT to figure out how to put on like proper parental locks on shit so you couldn't fucking access stuff. There was no way that was going to happen for a normal like everyday family. Yeah. So like now I'm thinking like, oh yeah, but it's like my generation or people that are in my generation that are like old, like, you know, in their late 30s, the older end of the millennials. Yeah. They grew up with it even more cognizant when they were fucking older and shit with dial-up. Like, they gotta know. They know the internet. So, they gotta have put the secure locks on and, like, they know all the shit. So, the internet that the kids experience is this very walled garden. They wouldn't see things like Andrew Tate and whatever. And that they wouldn't even be able to really, like, get past any of those things. And then you, like, see little kids like that and you're just like, oh shit, dude. He like fully like got past the firewalls and like fucking just went rampant.
Do you even know the
like
parents are conscientious enough to create that shit?
I mean, no way, no. Like, I mean, like, there's no.
Think about how much our parents missed and how much we were exposed to because of our early exposure to the internet and stuff. Imagine now, and it's because parents are busy, they're working and they're preoccupied, and also we live in a more individualistic culture where there's not that kind of it takes a village mentality. There aren't that many people who feel as if they're like personally invested in the well-being of most children. Most children only have their parents who act in that way towards them now.
If they're lucky.
They have two. If not, they may have one. If maybe they may have none at all.
Or they have like, two that are just not checked in and like don't give a fuck.
Conscientious at all, and it's fucking it's common. It's fucking common.
I mean, that surprises me because especially like as you read that like childhood and the fuss, I guess, in the classic British way of the fuss made of childhood has only increased as like technology and like civilization has like gotten further, like the sort of, you know, toys and Saturday cartoons and like the constant kind of like, you know,
garden, as you
for children it only increases and gets bigger with fancier toys and everything else, right? Like as time goes on, but that actually like the internet kind of completely destroys all of that, and like if you're not really careful, like your fucking kid could get warped like in a fucking heartbeat. But I thought that, as I said, because they would be older millennials, they would have more insight into that fashion, and so that they would be more
conscientiousness is what
but it's like, you know,
to be preemptive enough to actually do anything.
You just got to set it up and then it's done, isn't it? Like you just do it once. Like how fucking lazy are you that you could like
my kid would not they would have like an old Nokia.
Yeah, exactly.
That's to use the laptop to complete school assignments. Like I'd be like an almond mom about technology.
Do you know what's really cute is that like we've got this friend called Ruben who's like he's older than me. He's like a, older guy, but he's got kids and stuff. And he fucking talks about his youngest, that he like has naturally done the kind of like analog gaming thing.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, curiosity or whatever. It's just taken hold of him like more than all of the other stuff. So all of his mates and whatever are playing Fortnite, and he's literally like on an actual fucking Game Boy that he got from CEX or whatever the fuck, with a cartridge of Pokemon whatever the fuck. And then like I see shit like that and I'm like, respect, mate, that's fucking awesome. But then he thinks I'm fucking cool because like I know what that is, you know what I mean? And it's just like, that's
It's
fucking
cute how the
magical.
two of you have bonded.
Like
It's adorable.
that's fucking magical. And the fact that he even found that without like any, like, I would be definitely like literally shaping my child, like my kids, like gaming whatever the fuck, to not be online for as long as possible, and to keep as much of that away as long as possible, even when they're like 12 whatever. Get a fucking dumb phone or whatever they call it now, a feature phone as they call it now. For me, it was just like the Nokia brick, as you said. The primitive Nokia brick that
That's
like,
all they need.
oh shit, your Nokia brick has Bluetooth as well. I can send you this shit cheap fucking like MP3 fucking ringtone.
Oh my god, or get them a pager if you want to be super old.
I mean, that's like, that feels a little bit too Wall Street to have a fucking pager.
I associate pagers with early 2000s like rap and R&B music videos.
I associate it with like
Where
business
you
guys.
pager a shorty. pager shouty.
That was never my culture, surprisingly enough. But I did see the film. Oh my god, is it like Lost in New York or something like that, where it's like the Tarzan that like comes to New York, and it's like a Michael Keaton type actor that like plays the dad, and he's got a pager, and he's like constantly getting like buzzed on his pager because he's such a busy fucking business guy. And I think also in Elf he has a pager as well.
Is Elf that old?
Yeah, it's like 2005 or whatever. 2000. Yeah, people still have flip phones and shit in that. It's like not. It's pre-smartphone revolution.
Oh my god.
But fucking like, so for me, it's always the business guys. It's like the dad in Elf, or it's like fucking like this the dad in this other fucking Tarzan movie that I can't fucking remember the name of, which I'm sure we'll read in the chat afterwards. But fucking. So yeah, pagers are always related to fucking like absolute suits, in my opinion. I would never fucking get a pager, and I'd never encourage anyone to get a pager.
You're like Mr. Anderson or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I feel like there's but then you watch the Apple fucking shit, and you're like, yeah, look at that, look at all the seamless integration.
Yeah, I know. Look
at all the seamless integration with all of the different like entertainment services that you can just stream via 5G instantly to your fucking devices, that does all this fucking blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, and this is just like, this is getting like a little,
waiting for it to happen.
this is getting a little too Blade Runner-y. Do you know what I mean? Like, I say this a lot, but I feel like it's just true. And I'm wearing an Akira shirt, but like, I do enjoy the genre of cyberpunk, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to live in it, because I'm not really of the class to like really enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I would be kind of like in the rough and tumble with most other people.
Orgies for you.
No robot like legs or anything fun to like kind of like do some crazy like cyber crimes with or something. Like, I would just be kind of like that fucking crazy homeless dude playing guitar in Cyberpunk 2077 on the streets or whatever.
I'd be the crazy like mystic.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the lady in the Matrix.
There's a tarot. There's all the tarot is like a massive theme in Cyberpunk, and there's like a tarot reader and shit in Cyberpunk as well. I'm pretty sure.
Mystic. That's like, you must ascend spiritually into the supernal realms and not.
Don't give in to the machines.
Don't give in, guys. Resist. That would be me in the cyber. I'd be like one of those, the street preacher guy in Akira.
Yeah.
I'd have like my 3 followers. My little cult of 3 followers.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I kind of, a part of me understands the seamlessness of all the new technology.
But it's causing like meme hazards to spread faster than ever. Cults are now emerging again. Like,
that's the thing, is like, if all of this stuff is already so damaging, like in the regular interface of like having this like
worse.
Almost like a primitive slab that you're like sort of scrolling through as images kind of move through it, like it then turns into this headset that you wear that like becomes completely immersive with like even like basically like virtual surround sound
Yeah.
and stuff, like pinging off all this crazy shit for you.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna change even the nature of trash.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's gonna make trash immersive.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if that is like
for your
of
psychology.
yeah, I don't know if
You're
that's
gonna have
good.
people like emerging with like getting riddled with tics and all kinds of like fucking
Because like you were saying, you can you can watch that all day like this, or like even on like a computer monitor at home or something. But no, that can be a IMAX screen, a virtual IMAX screen that's like being boomed around
TikTok
you.
endlessly, so you can watch your like gender resentment videos all day long.
Yeah, in a home IMAX cinema.
IMAX audio. It was like some immersive audio as well.
There's like spatial audio using audio ray tracing, which is like a new phrase that I've heard, and I work in audio technology, so I'm definitely curious to look that up tomorrow.
Like Andrew Tate,
But
and like the sprinkle lady will be able to brainwash little boys and girls in like almost Orwellian 1984 style, where it's just a constant stream all day long of like resentful views about the opposite gender.
yeah, like I it does make me
Kind of a terrifying.
It does make me pause, and it's also sort of like, I guess, if that is then also the frontier and the interface for that, to sort of like make meaningful experiences for that technology, will require such a cost that I know just from cursory experience that anyone creative's not going to get a lick in there.
No.
Unless you're already in a company like Disney or something like this,
Yeah,
right? Which
yeah.
then your creativity is like clipped
Yeah.
to an inch of its life.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's all about what's going to profit and what's going to sort of like generate the most buzz and what's going to bring the most eyeballs in. Not like how you can really use the medium to create meaningful experiences. Like, I'm not saying meaningful experiences can't be delivered in this format, but I don't think it should be the format that everything gets sort of shoved into. Like an Omni device, the phone, the Omni device of the phone has already kind of distorted and augmented life in a lot of really corrosive ways, and now
do we think
this
that
is
like
gonna-
do we think that genuinely blending and merging the barrier between the physical and the digital realms will actually bring you closer to those experiences?
No, it will bring you further away from them.
Or will you... No, but this is the point, though. I think the point is that they're trying to simulate it better and better and better, right? And so at what point does the simulation get so compelling that it is better and you are more connected? Will that ever reach a point, or will
Where
it
the machine
always...
feels more numinous than reality?
Yeah, that's the point, right? Because not gonna lie, dude, if it fucking actually looks like half as good as the PR video that they showed tonight, that's gonna be fucking ridiculous.
Are you gonna be a Disney adult?
I'm not gonna be...
with Baby Yoda and
I'm not-
Lizzo.
like
in the fucking
maybe take the Star Wars element out of it, but the idea that you could just put yourself on some planet or in some sci-fi setting and you're just doing your emails, that is kind of cool.
What
like
about I know it sounds I get what
like
you
I'm
mean.
Dr. Manhattan, just like, yes, Jeff, I'm gonna be there on Wednesday, like on Mars, bringing up like my fucking glass like palace or whatever up around me. It's just like, this is utterly mad. Like, this would be so ridiculous.
Well, I know it sounds pretty like stupid and corny, but what about like imagination? What about the mechanism of the human imagination?
Well,
What about your own reveries and flights of fancy? Like, and I wonder what effect this is going to have on children's imagination. Because, like, I remember as a kid, I had a very fucking vivid and active imagination. And it's gotten weaker as I've gotten older.
I don't think so. I think that's just something you tell yourself.
Everyone says that to everyone who says they had a vivid imagination as a child. It's like, oh, you don't remember. You're just sort of, like, remembering wrong. But no, I remember seeing shit that wasn't there.
I mean, that's not what I would call vivid imagination.
That's what I would call mental illness.
That's
or whatever.
what I would call a trip to the doctor.
Whatever, shush. I used to see all kinds of shit. I was also really scared. Like, if I was in like any dark crevice.
Were you like the kid in The Sixth Sense or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much. I was like Haley
Yeah.
Joel, like, mouth breathing and like screaming in terror at the sight of any like inconvenience. No, like I was, any dark crevice would be filled with monsters. Like I was that kind of kid where I was always imagining the worst case scenario. But then I also would have like almost visions that were obviously constructs of my mind, but because it was easier for me to suspend my disbelief, it felt real. That mechanism has gotten weaker as I've gotten older. The ability to like suspend your disbelief enough.
Yeah,
to
but
take
that's
your
just
internal world seriously.
that's
which
just
is
that's
important for the generation of art, of anything. For the human imagination is like the seed of everything that surrounds us currently.
that's just
And you
growing
think-
up though.
But you think these kids are going to have that period where they're supposed to imagine shit on their own taken away from them more and more, like, and it's been getting progressively worse and worse as technology has evolved. Like cave kids had to like play with sticks and imagine gods and monsters and shit, and like, you know, as technology has progressed, imagination has become less and less needed, and now it's like pretty much not needed at all. You don't have to suspend your disbelief at all. It's an attempt to completely recreate and immerse you in something that feels completely like realistic.
I think it's really hard to talk about something like the global consciousness's imagination cylinders running empty. I know that sounds like an utterly ridiculous sentence, but that's essentially what like we're talking about, right? And like I think it's really hard to judge that because so much of like entertainment is wrapped around profitability and stuff, and not around merit and how great it is in lots of ways,
and how it showcases the power of the imagination.
So like, you know, like the reason we see
In fact,
so
the
many
imagination
sequels
is
and
stifled,
sequels and reboots is not because like they're creatively fulfilling or any of that. It's because they know that they will sell an amount of tickets because an amount of people were fans of the first film or the second film or the 10th film in the case of fucking Fast and Furious.
Even in the last
like
Dune as well, like one of the major complaints was that the costumes were not giving, and like part of the reason why is because they had to make all these really bland, safe choices.
I mean, I'd say a lot of things weren't giving in the latest Dune,
but
but
the costumes
I feel like I'm
specifically-
on my own with that, with a lot of my other film buddies.
But no, I agree with you. But like the costume specifically, like Dune is an opportunity for you to go fucking crazy and go balls to the wall and do something really interesting and cutting edge. And they didn't. It was really mid and like boring. But the reason why is because they have to sell it in like international audiences. They have to make all these market-led decisions. All these things like neuter creativity and imagination. But even then, with younger kids, not needing to imagine anymore.
Or it needs to look enough like Star Wars or enough like, you know, something kind of familiar for you to sell it. It can't be its own truly unique thing.
Yeah.
And
it needs to be this already created franchise.
Yeah, or it needs to be
yourself into, rather than I'm imagining something completely of my soul.
Or it needs to be like
You
at
know?
least I think you remember you selling me this when you worked in kind of script stuff, or like publishing and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're going to pitch something, you need to be able to basically say that it's like two other things, because otherwise they're not going to know how to market it or what the audience size is like, and that doesn't really fill them with confidence that they're going to be able to sell whatever the fuck you're trying to sell them. And it's just that is pretty kind of like classic, right? Like that's kind of like that, and that's why I find it really hard to talk about have our imagination cylinders run blank, because I don't think so. Like I think that there is really great creativity being showcased,
big time.
but I just don't think it's kind of it's like not as often as it was, because the creative freedoms are way more restricted than they used to be.
Big time.
Unless you're already Tarantino, and then you can laugh and go,
The thing is,
what creative limitations? Just do it. And you're like, yeah, you can just do it, man. You can just do it. But like most people, they can't just do it. So like, it's not the
thing
same.
Is, creativity isn't even incentivized. Like I was saying, like for instance, it's more profitable and a better business model to make resentful videos about the opposite sex
Yeah.
and just chat shit on podcasts and do this than it is to like make a video essay and put lots of time into writing a script and to fucking making something, you know, that you've put a lot of time and that represents your unique kind of perspective.
Yeah.
It's easier to just have a niche and something that hits a pain point or a pressure point in culture and just like fucking accelerate. And the thing is, Sprinkle, like I said, she wasn't as thirsty for clout as Andrew Tate. She didn't chase the algorithm in that sense. She just sort of uploaded her content, and she did it for about 5 years before getting noticed or whatever by the wider culture. But at the same time, it was sort of almost pre-made for that kind of virality because of the types of titles, the fact she has this quirky character, she wears costumes, it's quippy, it's like very clippable, it's very inflammatory.
Yeah.
It appeals to the worst common denominator.
But it all comes around like clicks, which all comes around advertising revenue. It's the fact that we have like a new generation of communication technology stifled by past generation level of economics and like market models.
But what isn't this gonna erode? Like, kids are being sacrificed on the altar of this shit. Their consciousness, their psyche, their development, their imagination.
Well, it's because everyone's
the relationship between the sexes, the very polarity that produces life, is now being sacrificed on the pyre of this. General societal cohesiveness is being sacrificed on the pyre of this. Like, when does it end? Like, what else? What would need to happen in order for people to view this as an emergency?
I don't know, mate. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I don't see the evolution of the interface as necessarily the best thing. Especially, as I said, been reading Walden. So, like,
Jake wants to go in the woods and
going deeper into going deeper into like immateria and like the fucking fake world just feels like the like reverse of what is natural and good for my soul and like my life. But at the same time, it's also like
tantalizing.
But I also have to exist in this like modern world. Should we see if that is the end of the show or
if it's the no, I think it was just the thingy. Oh, sorry guys. What are you saying? It's bad for your soul.
Yeah, it's bad for my soul, but you know, I'm trying to live like some kind of fucking alternate life where you like aren't so wrapped up in like the stress and pressure of modern society and the technology needed to get on with it is basically like, you know, becoming a full-on tree hugger essentially, and like
a little bit too hard,
you
like
know,
Ted Kaczynski. But at the same time,
probably like not eating meat and like doing lots of other crazy, pretty radical things, so that you could like live somewhere different.
But at the same time, people can't even imagine alternative now. When people think about alternative lifestyle, they think about...
There's a couple in England.
LGBTQ, sexual utopianism. That's the extent of people's imagination when it comes to imagining alternative lifestyles these days. Sucking dick equals sticking it to the man.
Sometimes. There's a couple of places that are still going that are like interesting.
New.
There's a couple. There is Free Christiana in fucking Copenhagen, bro.
Still, I wouldn't.
You got fucking like.
I'm not a person who
people trying to live like
individuating,
you know,
collective unconscious.
So a different type of like lifestyle out there. You got like even there's two in England that are all about making like fucking your like forest straw huts and shit, man, and like living in the woods. And fucking
found some Viking community with like
and there's a full-on Viking community up in Sweden as well, and you can fucking apply to volunteer with them.
We're in a time of cults,
and then when you listen, I'm pitching it to you.
Oh my God.
You apply to volunteer there, and you volunteer there for a month, and then
be an indentured servant.
No, you volunteer there for a month to like get to know the fucking people that are living there and to know what it's all about. Then you do another one that's a bit longer, like fucking 6 months or something, and then you fucking apply for residency and you can just fucking build a house and live there, man.
Oh my god. Well, it's going to become more common, and it is already. You have online cults and sort of cults of personality surrounding these resentful. Oh, they're almost like black holes or dark stars. You know, they just kind of suck in resentful energy. And then at the same time, you have alternative utopianism being kind of presented in all these different communities that are trying to create, you know, and I mean,
I don't think it's utopianism. I think it's not. It's not because you're sacrificing a lot to like make do with like this kind of other version of.
Yeah,
life,
but the only
you know
reason
what I
I
mean?
say that is because it's usually a bunch of damaged, lost individuals attempting to disappear into a mass identity by coalescing together. I think that the answer to the tension that we're discussing is individuation, is individuating from the collective unconscious, from the family of origin, like really taking responsibility for the fact that you have a soul.
Yeah, and Henry David Thoreau says that you do that by building your fucking cabin, bro. Okay?
But he did it alone, which is the thing.
And you
I'm not-
can't do building cabins like anywhere in London. Okay?
No.
You have to go to Wales for that shit, okay? And join the tree huggers, and fucking then you get a chance to build your cabin.
All I'm saying is all I'm saying is like, you know, culture is cult at the end of the day, which is why we're seeing a bunch of different cults split off. And it seems as if the transaction these days is, in order to have a sense of community and identity, you need to swallow a stupid ideology in order to be provided with the benefits of community and friendship and all of those things.
I don't think that you have to swallow an ideology. I think that you have
that's the
to. I think you have
being part of one of those
you
alternative communities.
No, it's not.
Most of the time, and
It's
even
not.
if it's not obvious, it always ends up revealing itself down the line, which is what makes them unravel and go crazy.
There does need to be a philosophy of like, we don't burn coal and like fossil fuels in this like community.
Oh, God.
So like if you have a fucking fireplace or something, that shit's not gonna have like toxic polluting stuff in it, because that's like the principle and philosophy that we've like built the community around. It's stuff like that. You're like, okay,
Well, no,
that's
you're,
not gonna.
you're too optimistic about human nature and like mass consciousness.
Those places only work if you can really like exercise the skill of just like being able to get on with people and not let their shit fucking get too in your head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
but
still
most
be an
people aren't
individuated
like that.
person.
Most people aren't like that. I think that those sorts of collectives can work if everyone is individuated. But if you're dealing with a bunch of people who aren't individuated,
But I think
you're
it is.
gonna
I
have
think
chaos.
it's a bunch of really like old mature hippies that have just like found the way. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
then
they're in Shangri-La. They're the Great White Brotherhood or whatever.
Oh, what,
the Ascended Masters.
the Brotherhood of Eternal Love.
Yeah,
That was unbelievable. Okay, so this is how we'll end the show. Sorry, this is the last little story because our battery's running low, and it has been a lengthy stream anyway. But it's okay. You got your 2 weeks worth. But
your 2 weeks worth of Jake and Andy.
yeah, friggin' looked up the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. That was actually like a psychedelic church and like community, you know, thing. They all like set up this like whole village and stuff down near Laguna Beach apparently, and they ran and like did this supported this whole thing and ran all of these great social programs through selling weed and selling LSD.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look up the wiki for them, it's like they're just a bunch of drug takers that were like smuggling drugs around America. And they paid some shady fucking like weather underground group to like escort Timothy Leary back to like out of America to Antigua.
You never know.
And that bit's definitely true, but it's also like, don't categorize them as just some fucking drug takers. It's like,
the thing is, regardless of whatever history says about these sorts of groups, there's always like a danger when cults of personalities form, and when people are so dissatisfied with status quo society that they decide they want to form their own micro cults. And it has happened many times throughout human history. But we're in a time where that's like particularly acute, and it's affecting everyone from like adults to children. It's like causing almost like a mass formation psychosis. And the prerequisite for belonging is swallowing morbid, corrosive beliefs. And if you don't want to do that, you're going to have a hard time fitting in. I
feel like it's a lot of more of a brave choice to actually choose to do something analog than it is digital. And so it's easy to subscribe to Sprinkle and either project all of your bad negativity into whatever shit.
From all the
Yeah,
bad
girl.
Tinder dates that you've
Yeah,
had.
I agree. This is all bad. Men are fucking bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. And like fucking have your little moment and then go
Yeah.
back to work or back to your
Yeah.
boyfriend or whatever the fuck. Versus being like, no, I need something different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna literally change my life
Yeah.
and I'm gonna move somewhere else and I'm gonna exit out of this because I'm seeking something else. Like that takes a level of bravery and like whatever the fuck else you want to call that.
We're in a time where activists are like shaking hands with fucking war criminals. Activists used to get arrested.
Yeah.
You have like Greta Grunberg like going around to the WEF and all of this fucking shit. Like, remember when activists used to get arrested? Now radical is like, you know, putting someone's dick in your mouth or like fucking sucking someone of the same gender off or whatever the fuck. That's like radical now.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, dressing like the opposite, whatever it is. Like that's what's considered right. That's the parameter.
Yeah.
Those are the parameters that people are locked in when it comes to imagining any sort of alternative lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also, people don't want to leave their house. They don't want to do anything. It's easier to imbibe and swallow this ideology from this thought leader to endlessly scroll on your fucking screen and watch videos that stoke your resentment and stoke your anxieties rather than, like, you know, being and doing and, like, being immersed in your day-to-day experience.
Yeah, exactly. And like the only way you can truly live is by truly living. And the further we go through all of these kind of advancements, it feels like not truly living.
Yeah.
It feels like the simulation of as close as we can get to doing an enhanced digital version of all of your favorite things that take you away from truly living. Like hey, I fucking love movies. I love video games. I'm like I'm a fucking nerd when it comes down to all of that stuff, but like at the same time that stuff is not life. You know, man? Like that stuff is stuff that you do to kind of like, for fun, to fill a bit of time when you're kind of like in between things or whatever. Like that stuff is not it's not life.
The numinous and the transcendent. But at the same time, you have to be connected to your day-to-day and the things that like provide you with meaning.
Yeah. And that is going to become kind of harder than ever, I feel like, with Apple Vision.
Which we're about to order tomorrow.
When we're seeing the world through Apple Vision, I feel like we're stepping away from numinosity and the light, and we're heading towards like manifesting Blade Runner reality. Where they weren't called the Tyrell Corporation, but that was like Tesla, and then like Apple is like the software interface of the world, and fucking Tesla make all the robots. Boston Dynamics make the other robots, maybe like the fucking like cop robots and like the actual Nexus 6s. The actual Nexus 6s fucking Boston Dynamics will be making up, and then like Pfizer will be doing all like the genetic engineering, like fucking like.
I don't want to think about it.
That was another fucking Philip K. Dick thing that he fucking wrote about. The 6s in Flow My Tears, the policeman said, are like a eugenic like experiment from this kind of authoritarian like liberal fucking like mix of like 1984 and like a hippie's paradise, like a libertarian hippie's paradise in a way, whereas like
Philip K. Dick was woke. He saw it coming. Dude,
that guy was on a fucking level, and I think he did. I don't quote me on this. I think he said he had communicated with aliens and stuff, and this is kind of like a lot of the ideas he had gotten, and you're just sort of like, yeah, man, like you are kind of on a wavelength that's pretty fucking undeniable. Like I thought Asimov was like great in the way that he saw the future, but I feel like he was so overly optimistic in the way that like
in that very 60s kind of way.
Yeah, but that was it in his mind. Like something like a private company doing space shit, that would be like unthinkable. You know, like.
But yeah, guys, our battery is about to run out. But thank you guys so much for coming this evening and hanging out with us. Hang out with us.
Should we quickly scan the chat before we go say goodbye?
If it turns off before we finish, we're sorry.
It's all good.
Can we even see the chat from here? Oh
We
my
can.
Gosh,
Here we go.
lots of stuff.
Lars von Trier's The Kingdom made me afraid of Denmark.
I haven't seen The Kingdom.
You should go to Denmark before you get scared of it. It's too
actually
it's
a very
too
sweet place.
it's way too beautiful
It's
and
too
yeah and
wholesome.
way too sweet
Yeah.
to be scary, definitely. But I didn't go in the winter. I think winter is definitely
winter's
fucking different.
Probably really depressing. Yeah.
Moving to Berlin sounds awesome until you remember that next winter they're all turning into popsicles. Yeah, maybe. But it'd still be fun. The techno will keep you warm. You just dance your way through the cold. You may be cool enough to get into Bergheim, but everyone else in there is much cooler and much covered in human fluids and gross sex things. Like, I wouldn't want to go to Bergheim, man.
Is it really a sex club?
It is, and I just feel like, just the smell of it would be way too much for me. Like
Does the orgy not appeal to you?
No,
The idea
no.
of like rubbing up against
No.
multiple strangers.
Yeah, I get a lot of move to Spain ads. See, someone else has also succumbed to the algorithm.
A lot of people are getting that now.
3.5K is a wild starting point. Yeah, agreed. But still, as I explained, that like people can rationalize it in less than 2 seconds.
Yeah,
So,
people
like,
do it all the time to get like the excessively expensive like Apple technology that already exists. So
they can also scan your face so you can be a 3D person in FaceTime. Yeah. They make like an avatar version of you whilst you're answering a FaceTime with this demonic fucking thing strapped to your head. Like, it's pretty fucking nuts.
It's pretty fucking nuts, dude.
Imagine using this take to make Pasolini's Sallow into the real thing. That's what I want to see. You're a fucking sick individual. You need to get some help.
Get help.
J. George, you need serious help.
He's been the one in our Discord.
Having
this
fun.
week, having fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Continue having fun, please. If the fertility rates in the West drops to 0 in the next few years, I'm blaming this bunch of clout-chasing narcissistic motherfuckers. Not even the economy can make it that bad. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, these little boys, they were little babies. I felt maternal. I was gonna be like, hey, you shouldn't be watching that, little boys. But then they're not mine. And like they're someone else's who should be looking out for them, and they're not.
I think the Sprinkle lady, J. George, says she's the female Patrick Bateman.
She's a Sigma female.
Sigma female, 100%.
She has Sigma energy.
Sid was saying, lol, what's that, the moron who's breaking into people's homes, delusional? I was like, yeah, that is definitely, you're right there, man.
I feel maternal towards Mizzy as well.
What, because he's a little black boy?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I understand how you would maybe have those feelings, but
he actually
I don't. And, at the end of the day, he's breaking some fucking laws, bro. Like, you can't be doing that shit. That wasn't fucking good.
All they see is like a little black boy in a tracksuit making trouble. Like, oh my god, get the cage! Get the fucking cage! Like, Piers Morgan looked like he was gonna have a fucking heart attack. And it's just like, calm the fuck down.
Oh my god.
Like, calm down. Like, seriously.
I can imagine the Sprinkle lady listening to All Pigs Must Die by Death in June in preparation for her misandric videos.
Oh my god. Miss Sprinkle. I didn't know she's funny though. She is really funny. I should have found some funnier clips to show.
I associate pages with drug dealers. See, I feel like there's a very American thing, or maybe that was kind of like generation before my time of buying drugs, but like I certainly don't remember any drug dealers having a pager.
I thought that was just how you hollered at a shawty.
Was it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, these kids are going to grow up to be total NPCs.
It's sad.
Adults now are total NPCs. It's only going to get worse. I mean, I understand like having that sentiment, but at the same time, it is not a healthy sentiment to have, and you've got to remember that
just
like
because somebody's caught up in a mass formation psychosis doesn't mean they're not human. And you're human, which means you're just as vulnerable to the same thing.
Caught up in a literal psyop.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of going through this, and there'll be like a great, like, whatever the Netflix is when Netflix goes bust, like the next Netflix, probably Apple's documentary on fucking the psyop of 2020 all the way through fucking COVID to or even before then, I would say even like around 2016 to like whatever the next few years is, whenever this main interface really takes hold. That will be like a whole psyop and a whole thing, and there will be like books written about it, and it'll be like, I was there.
But don't be.
I was there when they elected Joe Biden. Can you imagine that?
But like, there's no use being misanthropic. Like again, you should see humanity. The differentiation doesn't mean not recognizing that you're part of humanity. Like you should see humanity as an extension, as part of you. You should see it all as one thing. Despite the fact that you're an individual, you're still part of this thing that's like one thing. So when you see evil or things that are bad and crazy, don't see that as like, oh, that's not human or that's something totally alien or foreign. It's you. It's part of you because it's a human who's doing it. And that's how you avoid falling into the pitfall of like becoming misanthropic.
Maybe they're human, or maybe they're like shape-shifting alien. Who really knows?
Oh, shit, I think we turned off.
Is that it? I think that's all, folks.
That's all for tonight, folks. We love you and thank you for spending time with us.